I would like to call Mr. Henk Rogers to make his address. Henk is the founder of Blue Planet Alliance, a visionary organization with a mission to get islands and countries around the world to mandate a commitment to 100% renewable energy by 2045. We are delighted that Henk is able to join us today. Thank you.
Testing. Do I actually need to wear this? So I'm really pleased to hear from the Prime Minister's remarks that climate change is at the forefront of this gathering, as it should be. So I don't have to talk about that because you already know all the bad news. This is not my first time to Samoa, actually. It's my second time. The first time was 10 years ago. I came here with a Polynesian voyaging canoe called Hokulea. How many of you were here? We were welcomed on the beach by hundreds of young Samoans dancing. We were here for the SIDS conference. And it was the beginning of a voyage of, it's a recreation of the greatest voyage of mankind, which is the voyage of the discovery of all of the islands in Polynesia, done with canoes, done with celestial navigation. So who am I? How many of you have played a game called Tetris? Okay, I'm gonna have to apologize for that. So yes, my background is computer games. I live in Hawaii. I'm originally from the Netherlands. I live in Hawaii. And gosh, it's now almost 20 years ago. I had a near-death experience. Lord Marland talked about having a heart attack. I had one. My malady was the 100% blockage of the widowmaker. 95% of the people who have that happen to them die. I'm lucky 5%. In the ambulance on the way to the hospital, I had just sold my company a month before. And I said, I don't know who I was talking to, but I said, "You've got to be kidding me. I haven't spent any of the money yet." I'm sure all you business guys can relate to that. If you sell your company, you like to at least, go on a vacation or something. But the second thing I said, no, I'm not going. I still have stuff to do. And in the recovery room, I have 2 stents. The doctor said, don't change anything. Don't change your diet. Don't change your exercise. You're fine. It's not genetic. It's not endemic. It's just an accident. Okay, fine. That was 19 years ago, and I'm still here, so he must have been right. But in the recovery room, I started thinking, so what do I mean, or what did I mean by stuff? I'd already sold my company and made enough money so my wife didn't need me anymore. My children had already graduated from university, so they didn't need me anymore. I kind of did the stuff that I was thinking I had to do when I was younger. I'd already done all that. And so then I started thinking, what is it that's going to upset me if I don't do something about it by the end of my life? And so I started working on my bucket list. I worked on finding my missions in life. And I thought, okay, I'm going to need 4 missions because I have 4 children, and each of my children are going to take over on one of my missions. By the way, that is so not happening. There is no way, I'll be lucky if one of them has something to do with something. But anyway, mission number 1 came to me, and this is in the hospital in Hawaii. It's in the back of the newspaper. And it said, it's sort of a by the way article. By the way, we are going to kill all the coral in the world by the end of this century. That was the article. Now, I moved to Hawaii the first time when I was 18. I moved from New York City to Hawaii. And and I lived on the beach for a year. What boy of 18 doesn't fall in love with the ocean? I was surfing and diving every day. And coral is a central part of the ocean. And so what's causing the end of coral? And I'm reading the article, and it says it's ocean acidification caused by carbon dioxide caused by us. So mission number 1, end the use of carbon-based fuel. It's fairly obvious. So I'm living in Hawaii at the time, and so where is the fossil fuel coming from in Hawaii and where is it going? Well, first of all, I believe that before I can ask other people to clean their room, I have to clean my room. And my room at the time, my room still is Hawaii. So I have to clean Hawaii before I ask other people to do it in their territory. Where is the fossil fuel going? Where is the carbon dioxide going? $5 billion a year of oil. That's 1.5 million people importing $5 billion a year of oil and $1 billion of coal. Now, of the oil, we have refineries, so 30% goes to make jet fuel. That's $1.5 billion. And then 30% goes to ground transportation, that's gasoline and diesel. Another $1.5 billion. And the leftover $2 billion of oil, crude oil, gets burned for electricity. And $1 billion, or 100% of the coal, gets burned for electricity. $3 billion of fossil. So that's the biggest one. So I decided that let's go for the biggest one first. Because once we show people that we can do the biggest one, the second one is going to be easier, and the third one is going to be easier. The biggest one is energy. And islands, we island people, we understand, we import fossil fuel to make energy. And Hawaii at the time is I would say, the mecca of renewable energy. We're the southernmost state of any state in the United States, so we have the best solar. We have trade winds, and I'm sure many of you understand what trade winds are all about. 95% of the time, strong wind blows from the same direction. And we have geothermal. We have volcanoes. Our island chain in Hawaii is made out of volcanoes. And I started thinking, how am I going to go about changing the way of the utility and the people? Because I went and talked to the utility and said, we don't know how to make electricity out of wind and solar. They go on and off. You know, we make electricity by burning oil or coal. That's how we do it. Our job is to make energy. Full stop. If the lights go off, people will say, what happened? What's wrong with you? We will be blamed. So they have no reason to change in fact, their business model was they would make 10% on the price of oil. What a terrible business model that was. So we thought, okay, we need to put Hawaii on track. And the politicians wouldn't listen to us. Even the people wouldn't listen to us. So we decided we're going to go through the children, because actually the children, it's the future of the children that we are destroying with climate change. So they're the ones who have the most to lose. So we got elementary school children to go door to door and exchange 300,000 light bulbs. In so doing, they have a conversation between a child and an adult saying, this is going to save you money and it's going to help save my future from climate change. And then we had junior high school students draw on sidewalks with chalk where high tide would be in a 1 meter rise in sea level. 1 meter rise in sea level is the minimum predicted by the IPCC. It's because warm water takes up more space than cold water does. In addition to all of that, we're melting Greenland, and we are worried about Antarctica. You know, the highest sea level has ever been is 30 meters higher than it is today. If we melt all of the ice in in Greenland and Antarctica, we're talking about 30-meter rise in sea level. Just think about that for a moment. I believe that the rise of civilization is largely due to the fact that sea level has been steady at something near where we are today for a long time, for 10,000 years. If we have even a 3-meter rise in sea level, we are moving New York, Tokyo, Paris, London. All of these places are within a couple of meters of sea level. It's going to be much cheaper to fix climate change than to move all of those cities. Much cheaper. Please think about that a little bit. Our claim to fame is that in 2015, we were the first state in the country to pass a mandate of 100% renewable energy. We asked for 2040, the politicians were ready to give us 2050, and we negotiated and settled for 2045. But it turns out, my son points out to me, 2045 is a great date to fix climate change. Why? It's the 100th anniversary of the United Nations. That's all of us. Now, the United Nations, we have the IPCC, which is telling us the truth, which is a great effort, and it's a great way to find out what's actually going on. And then there's the COP system, the Conference of Parties. We get together every year and we decide how are we going to fix things. And in our moment of glory, we passed the Paris Agreement. Unfortunately, the Paris Agreement doesn't go far enough, and no one is even on track for that. So I come to the conclusion that the top-down approach is not working. It didn't work it hasn't worked anywhere, actually. We have to change. This has to be a bottom-up approach, starting with the children, continuing with the adults, moving up to the politicians. And then basically, the problem is also the target of the Paris Agreement, 1.5 degrees or 2.0 degrees, that's not something that people can understand. How can I affect 1.5 degrees or 2.0 degrees? And some of us are even on Fahrenheit, not even Celsius, so that 1.5 degrees is much smaller in the case of people who think in Fahrenheit. So I believe, first of all, if there's no deadline, nothing happens. If I ask somebody to make me the Sheraton Hotel, and they tell me, well, we're going to get it done someday, and we're not exactly sure how much it's going to cost, I'm going to find another company. We are business people. We do things when we make a deal. The deal is you do something for me, I pay you this much. If you're on time, you get paid. If you're late, you pay me. If you're early, maybe I give you a bonus. That's the way the real business world works. So we need to have a real deadline and a real target. And a real deadline is 2045. It's far enough into the future so that we can all accomplish it. And it's not so far in the future that, how can I say, that it's not in time. Well, better late than never is what I'm thinking in this case. So we put Hawaii on track. Then we changed the business model of the utility so they make more money by switching to renewables. Now, they pay 25 cents per kilowatt hour for oil. And I'm sure those of you who import diesel are paying more. And as a result, we island people are paying the most for electricity of any people in the world. We're the least responsible, we are suffering the most, and we are paying the most. What does that mean? It means we have to take the leadership. We have to go first and say, no, we're not doing this anymore. So we changed the business model of the utility. Their cost of wind and solar in Hawaii is 8 cents per kilowatt hour. If you add batteries, it's up to 12 cents. That's half the cost. And the old business model, 10% on the price of oil, 2.5 cents. Okay, you can make 3 cents. Guess who's our best friend now? The utility, which is the biggest company in Hawaii, went from being our worst enemy, fighting us in the legislature, saying, no, we can't do this, to, of course we are doing this. Today, the people of Hawaii, including all the business people, they went from, it's impossible for us to move away from fossil fuel to, of course we are doing this. This is what we need to do in the world. We must all come to the conclusion that, of course, we are doing this. Not only because we should, and because it's going to make us more money, but because we have to. You know, sometimes I'm faced with people who say, you know what, I'm old. I'm not going to be around when the worst of climate change actually happens. which is already happening now, by the way. And I'm saying, you selfish SOB. What about your children? And what about your grandchildren? Is it really all about you? The answer is no. You have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to the generations of young people coming in the future. They have every right to enjoy the beautiful world that we grew up in. That's our responsibility. So since we passed the mandate in Hawaii, 15 other states have now got the same legislation, starting with California, which is maybe the 6th biggest economy in the world. California also has a mandate of 100% by 2045. New York, Illinois, over 50% of the states in the US now have a mandate that says they have to go 100% renewable energy by 2040, 2045, 2050. It's a negotiation between the politicians and the utilities and so on. But the problem is, if we're 100% successful in the US is only like 4.3% of the people in the world. And to solve climate change, we have to solve it everywhere. So I started a new organization. I moved to New York to be close to the United Nations. The new organization is called the Blue Planet Alliance. And the Blue Planet Alliance is doing what we did in Hawaii and in the States for the rest of the world, starting with islands. What we do is we bring islands and island countries. Is that me running out of time? We bring 4 people, one from the government, one from the utility, one from the regulatory agency, and one from the community. We pay for them to come to Hawaii. They spend a week with us. We show them what we did in Hawaii, and then we give them the will to do it back in their home country. By the way, if one of those 4 people is not a woman, we don't pay for them. They have to pay themselves. That's our fearless leader, and Amanda Ellis made sure. So anyway, we've so far brought 28 countries to Hawaii. We just finished our 3rd cohort. We bring 10 at a time. We do this every 6 months. Many of the islands that are here today have already been through our program. And we invite anyone who hasn't been to talk to me afterwards, and we will organize for you to come and bring your people to Hawaii to show you what we did and how to put your island on track. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that there is no question about whether we are going to do this or not. We are doing this. This is not a choice that we have to make. We have no choice but to do this. You could say that maybe the planet has declared war on us. We have to fight back. We have to put back everything that we've stolen from nature and fix everything that we've broken. So people ask me, do I have hope? And I answer them, no, I do not have hope. I have determination. We all need to have this determination to end the use of carbon-based fuel, to fix climate change, to get rid of all the plastic in the ocean, all the other things that are going wrong with this planet. We have the ability to fix them. We have the technology. We have the money. All we're lacking is the willpower. And we, who are the leaders of business, the leaders of countries, it is our responsibility to the future, to their children, to our children's children, to fix this. We created the problem. We have to solve it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Henk, for those very